Alright, this will be a brief video to give you an example of what your test will look like when you're going to take it online with the new restrictions. New restrictions being a limited amount of time to complete the exam. So you have to start at a fixed time and end the test before a fixed time point. And you can only make each question or open each question once, and you can't return to the questions you've already completed. And you'll be asked to sign another code. So as usual, you start with an introduction screen listing the instructions. These are the instructions of the trial exam I've just set up for this example. But it will be similar in the actual exam you're going to make. So you'll start the exam by clicking start, and then first you will get the honor code that you'll need to sign. So read the question about the honor code. It will be similar in the actual exam, and you either declare or you indicate that you can't declare to live by the honor code. In this case, I will. I'm here in my room all by myself, and I'm going to make this trial exam in this example all by myself. And I will start that exam, the actual questions of the exam, by moving on to the next question. Then it will give me some instructions on the block that contains the actual exam questions. This is information specific to the SP course, might not be relevant to you. Read it and move on to the first actual question. So the randomizer, so the actual sequence of questions is randomized. So that might mean that I have to start with an essay question, or I have to start with a multiple choice question, depending on what type of answers your test contains. So in this case, it contains both multiple choice as well as open questions. So I'll have to start with an open question in this case. So what is useful to know is that every open question will have a disclaimer saying that please be reminded that you need to hand in the answers you filled in the answer box before moving on to the next question. So please make sure you do that. What it means is if you give an answer, so you move on to the answer box, you give an answer, then you need to click on antwoord inleveren in Dutch, or submit your answer in English, before you move on to the next question by clicking volgende, or next in English. So we've answered the question, we've clicked submit answer or antwoord inleveren, and we move on to the next question, which again turns out to be an essay question, which is ideal for this example. It was randomized, but I got lucky. So I could show you what happens if I do type in an answer. Type in an answer, but I forget to hand it in. Blessedly, if I click next, I get a pop-up reminding me that you first have to submit an answer before you can move on to the next question. It says so in Dutch. You're still busy answering your question. You have to hand it in first before moving on. You can always change your answer. So specifically what that means is that you can always change your submitted answer up until the moment you click next to go to the next question. Then your answer will be final. So to be sure, what I can do is say, well, okay, I've typed in an answer, I hand it in, and I change my mind. I think, oh no, it should be something else. Yes, I'm sure I want to change my answer that I already handed in. Change it, so it's a different answer, and I hand it in again by clicking on the bottom. So I've changed my answer, I've handed it in again, and then once I've moved to the next question by clicking next or volgende, then my answer is definitive. I can't change it anymore after that. So please be reminded of that the pop-up message you got is specifically about you being able to change your answer that you handed in and hand it in again before you move on to the next question. If you move on to the next question, your answer is final. All right, so we're going to go to the next question again. And this, of course, now is a multiple choice question. And you just pick the answer you think is right and move on to the next. And you get another multiple choice question. Below you have a timer, which reminds you of the time you have left if you started at the correct moment. And what's useful to know as well is and that's comforting, I guess, is that if you forget to answer a question and you want to move on to the next, there's a pop-up again saying something else. It will say that you can answer every question only once. You can't move back to the previous question. So are you sure you want to move on because you haven't answered the question yet? So are you sure you want to move on? No, it's not okay. I still want to answer my question. So I click cancel or annuleren in Dutch, and I'll go back to the question, and lastly I get an opportunity to say, let's click this. I don't know whether it's correct. You figure it out. And then, of course, I can move on to the next question, and then gives me the final question. And let's say we pick this one. Excellent. And for this sample, we are done. We've had all questions. It says so here below. I've done 6 out of 6 questions. If your test contains 8, it will say 8. If your test contains 27 questions, it will say 27, and you can keep track of how many you've done already, and keep track of the time as well below. If you want to go back to the test instructions, you can always click instruction. You'll get the test instruction again, and you can move on with the test once you've read them again. Once you've done all the questions, so the final questions, the next button will turn gray because there is no next question, and then you can click on klaar or finish, or indicate that you're done, and you're done with the test. You get an overview of all the questions you've answered. So again, you can't move back because you've already answered these questions, but you get an overview of the questions you've answered before. This is the honor code, and this is the rest of the questions. And it asks you whether you're sure you want to end. So only click this if you're sure that you want to end the test, and then you get to the results page. So as it turns out, I've answered the honor code correctly. Yay! The essay questions aren't graded yet, so there's a line behind him. And I got one of the multiple choice questions right out of three option multiple choice questions. So that's the exact guessing score represented right here. So I hope you have a good example of what to expect during the exam under these new requirements. And if your course has a trial exam, please use that as well to get a good preview. Good luck!